You're on mute, Erik. You got on mute on
There we
Zoom.
are. Sorry, old habits.
Good afternoon to you, brother Erik.
Yeah, good afternoon and good day or good something.
Good
Howdy, I suppose we could manage to. Yeah, is it 9 o'clock
It's
in the
10,
evening at your place?
It's 10 to 10 here.
In the morning?
Yes.
All right. Good.
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better. Okay, so the good brother from was it Peyton Randolph Library Research had his library behind him, so I thought I'd outdo him. I have the Library of Alexander. This is my library in the background.
I wish.
Yeah. I went and dug this up over the weekend. I went through. Well, I've already published the YouTube video, but I went back and watched it. Thursday night and then Friday morning to take notes off of it to start working on my article. So I remember telling Brian I was going to go get the Library of Alexander to outdo him. So here we go. So
well, if you're going to go for a library, so am I.
There you go. See, actually, that looks a lot like Brian's actual library. He wasn't using a screenshot. That was his actual library because he had, if you look, there were little white tabs. He actually has a Dewey Decimal System in his own library. He's got the little white tabs on his book. So
yeah, I don't go out much, I'm afraid.
And it is in an Excel spreadsheet. I said, well, I would expect no less. Excel to manage all of it. But that's what he's doing. Oh, I guess that's not laying down. That's hanging up. So, and for reasons I can't understand, if you look here, there, you can see the floor. I don't know why, but all of a sudden, you can start seeing the floor in my office. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just the camera angle. I never saw it before. And it seems the last few videos that kind of creeps in. Because like sometimes if one of the animals walks into the shot, they'll show up behind me briefly. And then I had like a medicine ball that I sat on, and that was behind me. I thought it was my chair. It's like, what is this huge thing? So I wish I could figure that out. Eventually I will figure it out. It's just something that the green screen doesn't kill. I think it's funny because Zoom offers the virtual background. You don't have to do anything. You just put a picture back there and it automatically does the green screen for you. My son, we bought him a green screen that he has to hang with the scaffolding and all that. And he goes through all that trouble. I don't bother. I'm like, here, I don't care. I mean, I can just turn it off. See, there's my office. So nothing behind me. But I do like all of these. Let's see. Get rid of that one. This is one where it's actually.
My background is the St. John Lodge Room in Kalmar, where I was initiated actually. So yeah.
Good afternoon, Erik. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear
you.
And
we can hear you, mate. We just can't understand you.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, there is that common language barrier. Yes. There we go.
Yeah.
I will try and be polite.
Thank you very much.
It'll be a first, mate. It'll be a first.
Okay.
No, I'll not bother. I'll just continue the way I am.
Good. That's good.
And make Brian the co-host.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
All right. Good to have you all here. So, Jim, where do you hail from?
I'm from God's country called Fife in Scotland.
All right. Now, is
Brian doesn't agree with me all the time, but well.
Is Fife a city or a region, or what is it exactly?
Fife is it's the Kingdom of Fife of Scotland.
Okay.
It's a region of Scotland.
A region. Okay, that's what I thought.
And as you can see on my board there, I'm a past master of Lodge Oak.
Very good.
77.
All right. Because I always wonder, because like when we're here in the States, you know, it's like I'm from Virginia, which is a state. And then I can say I'm from the city of Virginia Beach, or the region of, I guess, Kempsville is the local region I'm in. Hampton Roads would be the area of Southeast Virginia I live in. And I lived here many years before I finally found out that Hampton Roads has nothing to do with the paved surfaces. It has to do with the waterways, which are called roads. So it's Hampton Roads because we have so many lakes and rivers and bays and all that, which of course made this a huge shipping area early on, and that's why it became populous. But that's why you can't drive more than 5 miles without going through a tunnel or over a bridge. They're just all over the place.
I actually live approximately 14 miles from the Grand Lodge of Scotland.
Oh, very cool.
In Edinburgh.
Mm-hmm. And good morning, Dudley. You were here a week, I think last week before. Good to have you with us.
Merry Christopher.
Yes.
I'm in the cultural centre of the universe.
And where is that?
The town known as Swindon in Wiltshire.
Oh, okay. Very good. I am indeed outnumbered. Let's see. Paul, you're somewhere here. No, you're in Virginia, are you not, Paul? Or
No, I'm in New Orleans.
New Orleans. That's right. You're in New Orleans. That's right. Okay. So I've at least one Yank here backing me up. All right.
Looking at Alan's background, you got two.
Yes. Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Oh, Alan is not actually in his truck at the moment. Or is he? I don't know. He might be.
I just got a decent background. I'm here.
Okay. Very good.
Oh,
All right.
cool.
All right. And morning, Brian. You're still muted if you want to say hello. There you are.
Good morning. I'm
Good to have
from
you.
Winnipeg,
Oh, very good.
Canada.
Yes. Finally, a Canadian contingent. Yeah, I haven't seen, who is it? Is it Neely? Brian, who is it? Is it Neil?
Yeah, Neil does show up occasionally, but he hasn't been around for a while. I've spoken
Right.
to him occasionally on Facebook and that, but that's all.
Yeah, he's my official Canadian. Him and Cameron, my official Canadian representatives. They're here pretty regularly. And David, good to have you with us. Where you hail from?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
Oh, excellent. All
Happy to
right.
be here.
Yes, glad to have you here.
Lodge Oak actually has a small contingent over in Ohio at the moment.
Oh,
They're with the Ohio Master Travelers Club.
okay.
So they're doing a 10-day trip over there just now. They've been over to Scotland a few times now over the last 10 years or so.
Cool. And Blake, you want to say hello? We already got 12 people here, not even 10 o'clock.
No, it's 3 o'clock.
Well, it is 10 o'clock. Well, what counts is the host's location. All right. That's what matters. It's funny because for those of you who are somewhat new, Virginia Research Lodge meets at 10 o'clock on Saturdays. So that's just the day I chose because we had our first unstated at the exact time we were going to have our regular stated, which we couldn't have. And so I've just gone with that. And it's worked well for all my British and Scottish and all brothers over there in Europe because it's 3, 4 in the afternoon at the most. So it's still accommodating to y'all. The only people it seems inconvenience is the folks in California who have to get up at 7. I haven't had anybody tune in from Hawaii or Alaska yet, but I have had actually people tune in at 11 o'clock at night in like the Philippines or somewhere out in Asia. But it just seems like, we're worldwide here. So I try and pick that time, which is most effective for most of the attendees. I figure that's the best I can do. Unless I want to be like Brian and just run something all 24 hours a day. And
Yeah.
that doesn't really work.
We've got a very Masonic time here, Christopher, because the hands are on the square.
Well, there you go. There you go. See? Symbols within symbols. How you doing, KLJ? Good to have you with us, brother.
Good morning. I'm Corey from Norway. I was
Norway.
invited to join the
Excellent.
meeting.
Yes. Good to have you here. Who was it? John, you had asked didn't you ask me if you invited some people to attend? Are any of them here?
Yeah, Cora.
Okay. All right.
Just spoken.
Okay, that's what I thought. Well, I thought it unlikely there. I mean, it's always possible someone else came here from the word besides the one you invited. Anything is possible. Yeah, let's see.
And we all know that Brian is in God's own country, don't we, Brian?
Exactly. Yeah, these people that say Scotland's God's own country are just dazed and confused.
Absolutely. There's only one God's own country, that's Cornwall.
Exactly.
Wait a minute. We have to get this settled, boys. Where does the sun shine?
Oh,
Yeah, well, we've got real clouds, mate. We don't bother with sunshine stuff.
You know,
Sunshine's for wimps, mate.
the sun shines on the righteous, Brian.
Not always. Sometimes sometimes God makes a mistake.
You don't have the Atlantic there, though, Jim, do you?
No, it's the north. Unfortunately, it's the North Sea we've got, and it's bloody cold.
really, yeah.
Hello, Lee.
Hi. We've only got the Baltic, and of course, Baltic goes without saying, doesn't it? How cold it is.
100% right there, Lee.
All right. My name is Chris Douglas. I'd like to welcome you all. It's 10 o'clock now. This is Virginia Research Lodge number 1777's unstated meeting, and we have people coming in. So I'm just going to go through the initial stuff here. I have posted in the chat our various links for you. The first one is the Facebook page for Virginia Research. You're welcome to join that. It's where you probably got the event that you're attending. Most of you should be familiar with it. If you're not a member, please join us. Next is our Lodge website, where we have all of our research papers and other fun things I have built over the years, which are neglected and need my attention at some point. Mainly it's the research papers I've worked on lately. Then our YouTube channel, which is where all of these get posted to after I've published them. I think I knocked out 3 in a week. I think it was early this week I got all 3 of them caught up, including the one with the research lodges where we had the panel discussion, which was 2 things ago. And I think, yeah, I believe I did do, we're all caught up through today, are we not? I think, because I did publish the one on the Golden Knights as well. So I know I did 3 in a row, got them up there. And then finally, my email address. So if you are interested in our weekly research papers, you can join our Facebook group and then message me from there. I'm the admin, I'm on there all the time. Or you can email me directly and I'll be happy to add you. We send out an email every week with a research paper from Virginia Research or one of the other research lodges in the state of Virginia. I see we have more people coming in. Welcome. Good to see you again, Brother Kurt. One of our regulars. And you're muted, but that's okay. Got you on mute there. Hello. How are you?
First of all,
good. We have several people. We have people just coming on in. That's great. Good to see you all. I did want to pose a question as people are coming in here. And this is, I guess we can talk about it. It's a ritual question, but since the word's out there so much, I think it's fair to ask. But a common expression, and remember, I'm coming from Virginia. Most of y'all are from other Grand Lodges, but a very common expression of identifying another brother when you see him is to say, oh, I see you're a traveling man, or I see you traveled some. Now, when I first heard that phrase, I was able to figure out they're talking about being a Mason, but as far as I can recall, there is no Virginia ritual that talks about being a traveling man. And I don't think the word travel actually appears in the ritual that I think of. So I'm trying to figure out whose ritual is it where the phrase traveling man comes from? Because we all kind of get traveling, you know, you move around
Chris,
the lodge. Yes.
We're traveling to the east.
Yes.
All Masons are traveling to the east.
Yes. But that
was the way I was taught.
Okay. And I'm sorry, who was
No, it's
speaking?
not ritual, but that's what we're doing.
Okay. And I'm sorry, who was that?
Lee Eccleston.
Oh, it was Lee. Okay. Yes.
No, I just think in terms of well, no, it was a partial answer maybe, or just something to think about. Linguistically speaking, from the Masonic rituals that happen on the continent of Europe, the fellowcraft degree. When you are a fellowcraft, you are often referred to as a journeyman or a traveler. And maybe that's the beginnings of where this comes from.
I think journey has a different meaning, but well,
I'm just offering it as a thought.
Yes, by all means. I mean, there are no wrong answers. I'm just asking because it came up in the discussion on Facebook today, and it's like, where did traveling man come from? I mean, you would think that would be
in non-English languages, the fellowcraft is very often referred to as a journeyman or a traveling man.
Well, I mean, we have journeyman here, and I mean, in English, if you're a electrician, you're an apprentice, and if you got a license to be a electrician, I think most states in the U.S., you start off as a apprentice electrician and then become a journeyman electrician and then a master electrician. That's clearly patterned after us, but that's simply the titles. That's what they use. So I think they borrowed that from Masonry. So I'm just curious if the words traveling man as that actually appear in someone's ritual. We do. In fact, I think the Scottish Rite, they mentioned it about traveling from the east, west towards the east.
Reed, you're about to say, mate.
Go ahead.
Reed, Bunny?
It does in Utah. It actually, that you are traveling east is actually in the ritual.
Okay, very good. Okay.
Cheers, Reed.
It just seems to be one of those things. It's interesting because a lot of discussions online I see is people talking about meeting people on the street, and apparently it's not common here. And I'll say I think it's probably more common among the Prince Hall brothers here in the U.S., where there is this protecting your light nonsense, I'm going to call it, where basically somebody walks up to you on the street, sees you wearing a Masonic hat, and interrogates you, and basically demands you prove your proficiency to them right there on the street. Neither one of you is in a lodge. Neither one of you is attempting to visit anybody's lodge, but you're just wearing Masonic regalia. And some organizations take it upon themselves to say, well, if you're wearing it, you can be challenged at any time to prove your proficiencies. And I thought, it's like, what kind of thuggish crap is that? I mean, I honestly think it comes more from more of an overlap of a fraternity kind of thing, that there are Masons who are also in Greek fraternities who, within a Greek fraternity, while you're in school, obviously people can challenge you for whatever reason. But in Masonry, we simply don't do that. I've talked about it a lot online. It's like, look, if I can talk to you, I can meet Erik in a Facebook group, and we can be talking. It's like, I don't know that you're a Mason or not. You tell me you are. I take you at your word you are. But unless and until you're showing up at my lodge door and you want to actually attend a tiled lodge with me, I don't have to make you prove anything. That's ridiculous. If I just meet you on the street or we're talking online, I just take you at your word you're a Mason. I talk to you about anything that's not secret, anything that I can talk about with anybody outside the lodge, and there's no reason for you to prove anything to me. And it's just offensive to me that some people think it's a thing where you go and challenge. You're perfectly within your right. They go so far as to demand the guy hand over his ring or his hat or whatever if he can't prove he's a Mason, and he has to go and get it back. I'm like, what is this theory? I'm like,
luckily, that doesn't happen over here.
I'm sorry?
That doesn't happen over here.
No.
Our book of constitution, not a book of constitution, our guidance to Master Masons actually gives you guidance of what you're supposed to do under those circumstances.
And I agree with, I think my comment on what you're saying, Christopher, Chris, I don't know what you'd like. Chris, I mean, the whole argument was prefaced with you were wearing your regalia in public.
Yes.
Well, that's not a done thing anyway. Like if you're wearing your regalia in public, then of course you're going to be challenged and questioned. And
regalia.
I don't really see what the problem is here.
The regalia.
If you're going to wear it in public, expect the questions.
Well, no.
If you don't want the questions, don't wear it in public.
No. When I say regalia, I mean regalia has a specific meaning, and that would be wearing like your jewels or something that you don't only wear in lodge. I use regalia in the broader sense of just wearing a Masonic ring or a cap or a t-shirt, polo shirt, something with a Masonic emblem.
If you don't want people to ask you about it, then don't demonstrate it.
I mean, it's a question of what's polite. Okay, Lee, you and I bump into each other at the local Farm Fresh or whatever, and I say, "Hey, I see your hat." Here's what I'm going to say: "Hey, what lodge do you belong to?" perfectly neutral, innocent question. You say, oh, I'm a member of such and such. Oh, cool. And we talk. I'm not going to make you prove that you're a Mason to me. I'm just simply, I'm curious. Oh, you're wearing a hat because you want to strike up a conversation. Okay, I'll ask what lodge you belong to and just take you at your word that you're a Mason. If we talk a bit and I say, well, hey, why don't you come visit Ocean View? And then I make sure before I actually invite you that you belong to a lodge within a jurisdiction we recognize, or you're in a Virginia lodge, and make sure you be able to attend. But I wouldn't get that intense with you and try and prove to you right there on the street you're a Mason. There's no obligation that you have to prove to anybody you're a Mason just walking about your business on the street. It's only when you want to actually attend a lodge that it's relevant. That's where I took issue with what they're doing, because I see where they're coming from, but it's just like offensive to me. It's like, come on, he's just on the street.
Very, very different, because in Europe, we very, very rarely wear anything that signifies we're Mason.
This is true. Yes, this is true.
We might have a ring if you're lucky, but even they're reversible.
Yes, I've seen those.
You'd be very, very hard pressed to see whether we were Masons or not.
Right.
What's wrong with
And even mine, it's the crest of my lodge. It's not
it's not a square and compass.
No, it's not. I mean, you wouldn't know.
True. That only means something to you. That's why I'm not into past masters rings, because it's hard to tell from there what it is. I wear my ring on occasion, but it's just a square and compass. So
in Norway, if I may add,
please.
I mean, we operate after the Swedish Rite. When receiving the 8 degrees according to the Swedish Rite, we got the ring, and it's in Norway. It's mandatory to wear it within the lodge and without. So
really,
yes. So whenever I meet a fellow or a brother with a ring, I normally get in touch with him and have a chat, and which lodge do you belong to, etc. So it's a sort of, well, commonly friendship in Norway.
Thinking about it, there's another thing, and we see it as a bit of fun. And I don't know. I know this is a craft meeting, but in the Mark in England, like we get given these coins. Like, when you receive the Mark degree, you're given a coin. And at least in the practice that I'm familiar with, that coin must always be on your person. And if you suggest to somebody that you are a member of the Mark and they challenge you for your coin and you don't have it, then you have to buy all the drinks.
Yes.
You know, like, and that's so. I don't know. Is it true?
There's another one like that as well. Which if you challenge someone, they haven't got it on them, they have to pay a small fine. Jim, can I see your cork?
Yeah. Yes, so there we go. So there's my wallet.
Just give me a minute.
There it is, right? That's
Can you hold that up to the camera?
I'm not leaving my seat, Brian.
I'm just curious.
You are not going to catch me today, my friend.
Yeah, that's very similar. I have one for my Royal Arch, and if you put your mark on it.
And there's.
And I think in a way, it's all just a bit of fun, isn't it?
Oh, certainly, yes. And you're willingly participate in it. But again, that's among people in the same organization. This is something more of because, and again, this is probably has to do more with there are clandestine Masons, a lot of them out here in the States, and you're not necessarily in the same jurisdiction as someone when you see someone on the street. You know?
But Christopher, what's wrong with offering your right hand?
What's that?
The only way to tell a Mason is by offering your right hand.
Right.
And give him the grips, or give him half a grip and see if he responds. If he doesn't respond, I just cancel.
Oh. All right.
Unless you meet someone from another country.
Well, that's the thing is I don't know. Brian and I shook hands. I don't know what he'd be doing. He'd be like, and I'm like, what are you doing?
I can't tell you the secret signs, actually. No.
That's right. Yeah, we'd rather no actual ritual here, please. Oh, I did want to say hi to our senior warden. One of my bosses is here, Brother Robert Bronson. Good to have you here with us, sir.
It's good to be there. I thought that was an interesting conversation about what we were saying, and response of in Europe, I guess, is that they don't wear it.
Correct.
We were, in some ways, we're I guess in my way, it's being showing pride in who I am.
Yes.
Why I guess sometimes wear a Masonic hat or a shirt.
Pride is vanity.
What?
Pride is vanity.
That's nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with a little
Maybe
vanity.
it is.
It is. And the cultural distinctions are quite dramatic. I remember being in an Italian lodge, and the guys like, there's a lodge in, it's north of Naples. I forget the actual area it's in, but it's Harry S. Truman Lodge. It's a military lodge, and everybody there is U.S., either contractor or Navy or something. And I attended that quite a bit when I was there. And then we had a fellow that we knew, one of the guys knew, that took us to he was an Italian who actually took us to an Italian lodge in downtown Naples. And it was secret. Like, you go up, it's like a big, like, it's like a shopping mall, but think of like a skyscraper it's on the bottom, it's all like a shopping mall. So there's like all open, it's like cross hallways downstairs and nothing but shops. And then you go up the elevators in their office building, office spaces and all for whatever. And then there was the lodge had a nondescript office on one floor, probably the whole floor, this building, nothing outside to tell you there was a Masonic lodge there. And I walk in there and I'm wearing my blazer and I got my name badge and I've got like a couple of lapel pins on. And this Italian brother comes up to me and he's like, and he pointed to all of this. And I was like going on, like, what are you doing? And I asked the guy who was with me to translate, he's saying, I can't believe that you're walking around like that, with the square and compass openly and all that. Because I didn't know at the time. But of course, in Italy, the whole issue they had with their government and the Propaganda Due Lodge and all of the Bank of the Vatican Bank and all of that crazy stuff. There was a lot that went on in Italy a few years before that. And as a result, Italians do not wear Masonic regalia at all in public, not on cars, not on their persons, nowhere. And then of course in America, it's all over the place. It's like our favorite sports team, to show you the Nationals there. It's just a thing you wear. So, but it's interesting being like, I don't know, this is normal for us, but he was blown away. He couldn't imagine I would walk through the streets with a square and compass on my lapel like that. So cultural differences.
Chris, there's a couple of questions that's come up. Our last one from Brian saying, why is this conversation being recorded?
Yes, I record the entire session from the time I sign on, and I usually edit out most of the beginning stuff. But that's what we do. I record the introductory stuff where we're all just kind of talking. I pick a point when enough people get on, and that's what we publish on YouTube. And then we have the actual talk. I usually make a link on YouTube to the point where the actual talk begins for someone who wants to skip all of this jibber jabber beforehand. But people seem to enjoy the jibber jabber. So generally most of this meeting is recorded and put online. So
okay, thank you. It's my first visit and I wasn't sure what was going on.
Oh, that's quite all right. No, I'm welcome to any questions. So, and for those of you, and we do generally allow people to come in. I think it's 10:20 now. So someone asked, when is the presentation going to start? Valid question. But we got into a good bit of discussion. I try to offer other things. If this is your first time, we kind of play fast and loose here. We kind of do what I give everybody a chance to get in, get settled. Generally, we talk back and forth. I welcome people. Sometimes I'll pose questions like that one just to get everybody up and going. And then we get into the talk itself. But since everyone is interested, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Brother Erik Larsson, who will he'll go ahead and introduce himself as appropriately as he sees fit, so I don't get any of the names wrong. So I'm going to turn it over to Brother Erik Larsson.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm sorry, do you have a presentation or is just you?
Yes,
talking?
I have a presentation. So
okay. You have rights to share when you're ready. So Good. Go ahead and start.
Yeah. So yes, Erik Larsson, 52 years old, and I've been a Mason for, since 2015. And at the moment, that's the 6th degree in the Swedish Rite, or as it is proper, the Swedish system of Freemasonry, using the Swedish Rite. That's the proper name of it, actually. And I've been very much interested in researching about the Swedish Rite and what happened during the early years, and what influences were there, and what kind of people was it that brought Freemasonry to Sweden in the first place. And also the last 3 years or something like that, I've been part of many Facebook pages where I met a lot of foreign Masons, and got interested to compare what are you doing, which differs from our rite and such, and also, well, just a general interest in Freemasonry and the whole history behind it. So today I'm going to try to talk about Swedish Masonry, and I believe some of you has already been part of the presentation that Brother Andreas Önnefors did on this same channel, I think 2021 or something like that, about the Swedish Masonry, and you will probably recognize lots of stuff from his presentation. He's one of the sources that I'm using as well, so he's an authority in the subject, and his knowledge in Freemasonry is well known in Sweden. So what else could we say? Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question? What is the background there? Is that from your lodge?
Yeah, this is, well, I'm going to show it later on as well.
Okay, very good.
But this is the St. John Lodge room from our lodge building in Kalmar, the south of Sweden. I was born myself in the north of Sweden and lived in Stockholm for some years, and later on moved down to Kalmar. So I've been living here for the last 8 years. But so this is the room I was initiated in. Yeah. So as you probably can see, there's a lack of certain objects, I suppose. But let's see. I will try to share my screen. Just a moment here. Where am I? There we are. So I saw some other participants under the Swedish Rite, and that's perfectly fine, because this, first of all, I have to say, these are my opinions, my point of views, and everything. And if someone in the Swedish Rite says, that's wrong, please raise a hand and correct me, because I'm not an expert. So things that I'm saying could be wrong, definitely. Definitely during the early years of the history, because there's actually quite a mess during those first years. So, and to anyone else, don't hesitate to raise your hand and ask questions, and to abruptly stop me and ask questions. So we get a nice discussion. That's perfect. So let's see. I think this is the one. Of course, Macintosh. There we are. Bollocks. Excuse me. I think I have to do a thing. I can't share the screen right now. I think this is bad. I have to return back, actually, because I'm at the Macintosh and the security setting is a bit strange. So
okay.
Just give me 1 minute. I'll be back.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so if we can forget about the ancient and modern division. Once we can unite Windows and Mac, then we'll have universal peace.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, he'll be right back. I think he signed off. He's going to sign back in again. So that's quite all right. It happens. So if I didn't get a chance to welcome everybody else, welcome, and welcome. Oh, and welcome. So good to have you all here. Eric's coming back in.
Earlier on, we were talking about traveling man. We've got a guy in our group, Reed, actually, who's been showing us pictures of all around America. He's been traveling. We've seen just views out of his car window, which has been absolutely amazing.
Very cool.
Let's see now. There we are. I think. Desktop one and share. Right. So there we are. Hope everyone can see.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right. So to start with, this is the St. John Lodge room in our main main temple, or what you could call it, the Grand Lodge of Sweden in Stockholm. And as you can see, if you compare to the image behind me, it's a bit different. I myself haven't been there actually, so yet, but I'm really looking forward to it, and also to look in the other rooms. Yes. So. So the beginning of Masonic activity, it started. The documented start was 1731, when Axel Sparre was initiated in Paris by the Earl of Derwentwater. He was then also given authority, operated the 3 degrees on his soil. So he brought together some friends and started a lodge quite directly in Sweden. There's a gap there. I don't know really why. I think Sparre was raised, or he was initiated 31 and he was raised at 33 or something like that. So probably some wars coming in between. So the first documented initiation on Swedish soil was Carl Gustav Tessin, and it was Sparre who was the worshipful master at that time. At this time, they were using, as you see, the York Lodge, and it was the 3 degrees, the Craft Lodge. So there's going to be a lot of name dropping here. So, for example, you have Sparre. He was very prominent, and he was very important for the Masonic, for Masonry in Sweden. You have Scheffer, who was initiated as well in Paris, and you also have well, there's a lot of names coming up. But the thing is with Swedish Masonry is that there was a lot of people being initiated abroad. So I mean, these people here, Sparre and Scheffer, they were just, well, a few of very many people. So there are sources saying that, yeah, well, sure, this is like the official year, 1731, but there was definitely Masons in Sweden long before that, but nothing documented. So no. Anyway, so after the first years when Sparre started his lodge, there was quite a slow movement. People was slowly initiated. You see approximately 1 new Mason per year. And also there was other people opening lodges. So you had actually quite a lot of lodges operating in Sweden during the 1740s. And this person here, the Jacobite James Keith, he was given a letter of, I don't know what it's called, a recognition, I believe, that he was allowed to operate on Swedish soil. And that was, well, even if Scheffer and Sparre was allowed before him, well, it didn't matter actually. So, and I think he was given the permission from the English lodges or something like that. So whilst Sparre was actually given permission from a French lodge. So there was a bit turmoil. But we can see from the beginning, so 31 up to 52, there was a lot of stuff happening. There was, for example, during 46 to 52, there was no legitimate lodges operating. So they were, in fact, clandestine. So Sweden was quite full of clandestine lodges during these days. And of course, we had our first anti-Masonic pamphlet by an evangelical group. Not surprising. So at 1752, we have a quite good year, actually, because here Posse, which was initiated, I don't think I have it there, no, maybe later. He started the first proper lodge, actually. This sounds weird, but he took on to himself that, yeah, I'm going to start a proper lodge and I'm going to collect all the different lodges in Sweden and try to connect them and make a type of a ground lodge. So he continued with that. So here we are. Yes, this is a recap of the first years, actually. So I think I have a lot of images in. There we are. So during these years, 52 to 53, here was the first attempt to actually create a Grand Lodge in Sweden. And we have, for example, the Earl of Derwentwater, Charles Radcliffe. Here's actually a connection to the Stuarts. And you in England probably knows what I'm talking about there. And the Stuarts were, I think, they've been driven out from England or something to France, and they operated there. That's a history that I'm not too familiar with, actually. So, then in 1753, the present king suddenly declared himself as the highest leader of all Swedish lodges. I don't know the reason, and it's I've been trying to locate the reason in some historical books, but I can't find it. It's just
was he already a Mason at the time?
He had been initiated, yes,
okay.
But the reason that he declared himself the highest leader was I don't know really why. Probably because you had quite a lot of different lodges still in Sweden. There was no cooperation between all lodges. We didn't have any Grand Lodge. So even if he claimed he was the highest leader, he didn't create a Grand Lodge, which would put all lodges underneath him. So that was really weird. But the kings of Sweden are a prominent part of the history of Swedish Masonry, at least from 1800 and so forth. So let's see. Yeah, we could continue here. So now at 1756, we receive the Clermont Rite, the Rite Écossais from France, actually, and even if it's the Scottish Rite and St. Andrew's degrees, it all was made in France. And it's the Red Lodge, I think it's called, actually. A bit later on, we got our first chapter lodges, which are the degrees 7 up to 10. And you see, it's Eklef who is the most prominent person here. He created these degrees more or less by himself, taking the Claremont Rite and influences from other rites and molded it into actually, well, what we see today in Sweden, Norway, Denmark, Finland, Iceland. So after, we could say after 1800s, there hasn't been any big changes in the rites at all. So 1760, the first actual Grand Lodge of Sweden starts, and it's Eklef again who declares himself, or he's actually chosen as the Grand Master from the other lodges. So now there's a cleaning up, you could say, of the Masonry in Sweden. Orphan lodges become part of Eklef, and clandestine lodges are either closed down or incorporated into the Grand Lodge. And so there have also 1771 that the moderns confirmed that, okay, there is a Swedish lodge operating and fine, carry on with it. And then we had 1774, where Duke Karl becomes Grand Master of Sweden. And Duke Karl was the crown prince, and he was later on becoming a minority ruler for, I think, his younger brother or something like that. So he had a lot of time delving into Freemasonry, and he was really interested in developing the rites, and he worked together with Eklef a lot to try to make a good Swedish system of Freemasonry. So here we have, for example, let's see, you can probably read that. I mean, this history, the old history, we have to talk about it, but in my opinion, if we start to dive into it, we could probably sit here for 3-4 hours just to talk about ancient history. But I think the interesting part is after 1800s, where we see the modern Swedish Masonry actually. So I'm just going to skip a bit. 1813 is an important date. There was actually a Swedish Mason that was helping the ancients and the moderns to combine. And the story goes that he was presented with 2 different papers, one for the moderns and one for the ancients. And he was asked to choose which one is the most accurate and most Freemasonic. Actually, I don't know which one he chooses. I think it's the ancient, but perhaps someone from Ugle could help me out with that. Let's see. Yes. So we can see during the early years, not too many Masons actually. So, and let's see, 1770, the King Gustavus III, who was later on murdered, was initiated with his 2 brothers, Duke Charles, Duke Frederick. And here's a small problem. When I mention Duke Karl, it's actually Duke Charles. This is the Anglification of the name, so don't be too confounded. There we are. Yes, and also at the beginning, sorry, it should be 1854 actually. So the Swedish system is introduced to Norway, which have had an English constitution from 1743 and later on, 1853, the Swedish system is introduced to Denmark, which also had an English constitution. We also have Swedish Rite in Finland and Iceland as well. Finland also has craft lodges, like international lodges. I think they are operating under the Grand Lodge of New York, actually. So, and also here in Sweden, we don't have any other Freemasonry. We have Swedish Freemasonry, and we have had a craft lodge, which died out, I think, 15 years ago, something like that. And we do have a lodge belonging to the Finnish craft lodge, also in Södertälje, but otherwise than that, it's solely just Swedish Masonry in Sweden. Also, we have sources claims that the Swedish Rite, the higher degrees, originate from Switzerland or Italy, and also, yeah, that's Andreas Sönnefors who writes it, and probably that is a fact, because Duke Charles traveled around Europe during a couple of years and collected lots of information of other rites, and apparently he met some people in Switzerland and Italy and collected IDs for the Swedish Rite, or at least the higher degrees. And so we could say that perhaps the same sources also claims that the Rite is a mixture of the pure Rite of York and the higher degrees of the French, the Templaries, of the former strict observance, and the system of Rosicrucianism. Now, there was, I think, at the end of the 1800s, the Swedish Rite tried to clean up a bit of these influences. So I know for a fact that the Templaries of the strict observance is more or less not part of the Swedish Rite anymore. But there was apparently quite a lot of parts in the rites that were taken directly from the strict observance. And concerning the Rosicrucianism, I'm not sure. Actually, it might be in a higher degree than what I am in. So I will probably see. So, and also there's been a lot of disputes concerning if the Swedish Rite should be considered clandestine or not, because we do have Grand Orient influences, and that's been a subject a subject of discussion for quite many times, and I believe that the United Grand Lodge of England was actually trying to get the Swedish Rite to be, well, not in amity, but that I don't know the history behind that too much, but I think they all agree that since the Swedish Rite is definitely not political and has a high Christian profile and is very, very harsh on nepotism, we didn't receive the death penalty, actually. So, sorry. So, yes, no questions so far. I don't see any. Yes, I see. In a high degree, I will probably get some answers from a Norwegian brother. Tack så mycket. So, yeah, let's continue. Here we are. the definitions of the rite. Here is the biggest difference from international Freemasonry, and that is that we don't have appendant bodies of any kind in the Swedish Masonry. And it's 10 degrees in a successive order, and we don't have to worry what we'll do after we became a Master Mason. We know we are going into the 450 degree, and after that we continue. So no problems there whatsoever.
Can you choose not to advance, Eric? Can you like get 3 degrees in St. John's Lodge and never go further?
Yeah.
Or are you expected to?
Well, I don't know really if you're expected to, but it's like the common thing to do.
Okay.
And it's a matter of interest and time and everything like that. So, of course, we have a lot of brethren that actually quits Freemasonry. And the majority quits after the first degree, after the initiation, but it's quite a lot of Masons that quit Masonry after the 3rd degree. Probably because the 3rd degree is, well, it's rather special.
I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know how familiar you are with the York Rite. I assume you have some familiarity, but of course, in America at least, you join a Blue Lodge and you're expected to get all 3 degrees. You're not a Master Mason until you get all 3 degrees. In most states, most jurisdictions, you don't pay dues and you don't have full rights and benefits until you're a Master Mason. So there's very few people, at least in Virginia, that get the entered apprentice and then stop. You're expected to. We do have them, but we consider that you've basically given up on us if you only get the EA. You're not going to be allowed to continue to meet with us unless you're moving forward. That's why I bring it up. But
of course.
All our appendant bodies are totally optional. There are quite a few Masons who never get any degrees beyond the Blue Lodge, and they're happy with that. But we are quite different. Okay, please go on. I don't want to take too much of your time. Go ahead.
No,
I just want to make sure we're clarifying the distinction as you're going along here. So go ahead.
Yeah. Right. So, you could basically say that when becoming a Swedish Mason as an entered apprentice, I mean, we don't know anything else than this system. And that's also one thing, that because the common knowledge about Freemasonry in Sweden, but most people don't actually have a good idea on what Freemasonry is. Of course, they've seen movies and they read books and they heard like conspiracy theories that it's 33 degrees and yada yada. But then when they are initiated and we explain to them, it's 10 degrees. Yeah, but what about the 33rd degree? Well, no, not here. So it's like when you start the 1st degree, it's not, we don't demand anyone to continue, but it's like the natural thing to do. And also, for example, paying dues and stuff like that. We pay dues to the St. John Lodge between 1st and 3rd degree. And after that, we start paying dues to the St. Andrew's Lodge. And after that, we pay dues to the chapter. So these two, the St. John and the St. Andrews, is mostly part of the same Masonic society. I'm going to, I will explain that as well later on. Yes, no appendant bodies, and approximately 2 years per degree. So I've been a Mason since 2015, and I'm at the 6th degree. So it follows it quite good. And also one difference. This is actually a difference from international, or I think York Rite or Scottish Rite. I could be wrong there, but I think in those rites, you are a spectator for some rites, that you don't participate in the rite itself, but just you're looking at a performance. I might be totally wrong there, but that's the impression I got. Here in the Swedish Rite, you are always the centerpiece of the rite. You are participating and are asked questions and stuff like that. So you are not just a spectator. And also, yeah, worshipful master is elected at a 4-year term. So it's not I think in US and England, I think you will eventually become a worshipful master in some of the rites, whether you like it or not, I believe. But here in Sweden, it's you're elected, and also the worshipful master decides who shall be in office. So it's not given automatically because you've been a part of the Masonry for 3 years. Yeah, you will be a junior deacon or something like that. Yes.
Erik, can I ask, the Christian denomination, that's a big distinction when people learn this. I was surprised to learn this. So clarify exactly what does that mean if you want to join the Swedish Rite? If you can, I know there's probably a rabbit hole, but in a broad sense, you don't have to go to great.
Well, in a broad, that's the big difference, you could say, between like international Masonry and Swedish Masonry. In international Masonry, you talk about a higher deity, higher being. You should believe in something higher. In Swedish Masonry, you should believe in God. Period. And you should, and of course you should be a Christian. I mean, you should believe in a Christian God. But it's during later years, the last 15, 20 years or something like that, it's been a bit softer, so it's slightly changed. Before you actually had to present a paper that you've been baptized and that you are a part of the church. We don't need that any longer. It's like, I'm Christian, perfect. Thank you. Welcome. So it's a bit of a different, but so for example, if we do a prayer in lodge, it's always a Christian prayer. So it's not a prayer towards a higher being and the great architect. Well, that's God, obviously. So that's the big difference. And so we don't have. There's been talks about soften it up even more. Should we, for example, allow Muslims, because technically they believe in the same God, but no, it's still the Christianity that is the main thing. And the reason for that is, there's two reasons. First of all, the right was more or less defined by Jacobites, and also Sweden has had Christianity as Christianity has been the state religion. So I mean, during the 1800s, you were a Christian, nothing else. And there is a part in the entered apprentice ritual, which is, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it's all about, but it is about the Christian belief. And during the 1800s, that question was very, very serious. Yes. All right. Yeah. And also I got a small direct message here. So yeah, the Christianity is the fundament for the right. So yeah. no more questions, I assume. Yeah, let's continue. Yeah, some numbers. These, as you can see, this is the total population, the percentage of the total population, both men and women. So, yeah. Norway, or rather said, Iceland, is the smallest, well, I think the smallest Nordic country, but they have the highest percentage of Masons. So the chances of meeting a Mason walking around on the streets in Reykjavik is rather high, I assume. I think it's been a slight decline in membership last year. I think 5 years ago we were about 16,000 in Sweden, and now 15,200. So a slight decline, unfortunately. Yes. So the structure of the degrees. As you can see, the St. John de Craft degrees, that's the same as anywhere. So I believe if you come from abroad and are part of a initiation for first, second, and third, you would probably recognize most of it. Perhaps not understand the language, but you will understand what's going on, definitely. The Scottish degrees, yeah, the Rite Écossais. I don't know. I think it's called the red degrees in rectified Scottish Rite, because apparently these degrees are quite similar to part York Rite and very much to the rectified Scottish Rite. At least what I've heard. Perhaps someone who is part of the rectified Rite could tell me otherwise. Yeah, I'm just going to let you read this for a while.
I have a question, Eric. So yeah. I'm a Master Mason of a lodge in Virginia, and I'm assuming Virginia recognizes Sweden. I don't know if they do, but even say I was from England, you are recognized. Do you know which other countries recognize, what other jurisdictions recognize the Swedish Grand Lodge?
Yes, I mean everyone. We are recognized by United Grand Lodge of England, and also by, I think, every Grand Lodge in US.
Okay.
Recognized.
So if I wanted to come, I could come and visit and attend a St. John's Lodge, and you could come here and attend any Blue Lodge, but I couldn't go to a St. Andrew's Lodge. Is that correct?
Well, yes. No, that's not correct. I'm going to show you a chart later on.
Okay, sorry. If I'm moving ahead, sorry.
Yeah, we're going to clarify that.
Okay, very good. Okay, I'll let you go on with it then, please.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't know, and this is where it's hard because I can't. I mean, actually, I could probably tell you in detail about all the Scottish Rite degrees because they're all written down, and I could certainly summarize them. I'm curious because, of course, the Écossais degrees became the Scottish Rite degrees, which became, the Scottish Rite here in America, and then came back to Europe and spread everywhere. I'm curious as to if there is like a one-to-one comparison between any of these degrees and the Scottish Rite as I know them. There is a Knight of the East degree. There is a Knight of the East and West degree. There is a St. Andrew's degree. So I'd be curious. I'd love to see both and say, oh yeah, that's the 17th degree in the Scottish Rite.
Yeah.
But someone would have to be a member of both Swedish Rite and the Scottish Rite to answer that question.
Definitely. And I think actually that the rites, well, they share the common ancestry, but they've been tampered, or wrong word actually, tampered, but they've been refined by Duke Charles and Eklef to be Swedish. So it's like when I talk to a Norwegian, for example, we do understand each other, but there are differences in our language. Or if I talk to a Dane, we make ourselves understandable, but there are some distinct words that I don't really understand what you mean there. So I think we have the same concern the rights as well. So, well, I don't know. You're welcome. I'm going to show you which degrees you can visit and vice versa. So, yes, just to mention one thing here. We are talking about 10 degrees in the Swedish Rite, but as you see, we have also the 11th degree. But this is what you call it's not part of the Swedish progressive Rite. Actually, it's an honorary degree, so not everyone gets to take the 11th degree. There are also an honorary medal you can receive from the king for excellent work in the Masonry or in the Masonic world as well. So, yes. So this is secrets, more or less. Well, not too grave secrets, but the layout of the lodge is what I understood quite similar to any lodge in the world. There are differences, for example, in the middle here and at the worshipful master, but otherwise we have approximately the same type of officers working in the lodge. So we have worshipful master, of course. We have the junior warden and senior warden, and also the tiler. Now, the tiler, I believe, in Scottish Rite and York Rite doesn't have that much to do. In Swedish Rite, he is quite a great part of the initiation for the entered apprentice. So a bit different, I suppose. Otherwise, yeah, this is the layout, and you probably know exactly what kind of people are sitting all over the place. Any input on this one from anyone?
You have people in the north too?
You're talking about
Yeah, you're
yeah. These are, let's see, the master, the director of ceremonies. Let's see, there's the treasurer, there's the secretary, and here's the deacon and the chaplain. So they sit on each side there. Let's see, yeah, I got it right.
In the York Rite, we don't sit in the north at all. The north is a place of darkness.
Right.
At least in the Blue Lodge, you do not sit in the north. In the youth groups, they do. And in the Scottish Rite, they do.
Yeah.
Right.
And Eric,
not in the York Rite.
In Scotland, Eric.
Yeah.
In Scotland, an entered apprentice will sit to the right of the Right Worshipful Master in the north.
Yeah.
Apart from that, in my own lodge, a Master Mason could sit anywhere apart from the chairs that he's not allowed to sit in.
Oh, all right. Yeah, well,
let me clarify. I'm sorry. We sit in the north. I mean, you have chairs in the north and people sit there.
Of course.
No officers are stationed in the north. I should be clear there.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, if that wasn't clear.
Senior warden will be in the west, and the the senior warden will be in the west. The junior warden will be in the south of the lodge.
Yeah.
In Scotland.
All right. I actually don't remember which direction this is, but this is the first.
The east should be up top. That should be the east.
Yeah, this is east, of course.
Yeah.
East, west. Yeah.
I don't think you're showing. I don't think anything you're showing there is secret by any means.
No,
I mean, I know we're trying to be careful here, but if you start getting into details about what's where in the room, maybe, but just showing that diagram, don't worry. The names of officers and where they sit, I don't think it's considered a secret. Since
no, if we sometimes have open days in our lodges where members of the public can come in, and we will be sitting where we should be sitting, depending on the office that we hold.
Right. Yeah. I think when well, we could say during the initiation or at the end of the initiation for the entered apprentice, then he sits actually up here. This is his honorary place. And then afterwards in the lodge, the entered apprentice sits here, and the second degrees sits there, I think. And you have 4th, 5th, and 6th, and so you switch sides depending on which degree you have. So you don't mingle there is, I think there is a reason for that, which I don't actually know yet. Well, anyhow, so I'm going to show actually the carpet later on. That's the only secret thing that I'm going to show. Otherwise everything is quite in the open. Here we have. This is well, we could call it a translation chart. Most of you probably recognize this, at least Scottish Rite and York Rite, and the Swedish Rite. So, for example, my degree, the 6th degree, the equivalent should be degree 18 in Scottish Rite and Royal Arch or somewhere above in the York Rite, which means I would be allowed to visit the York Rite working in the Royal Arch degree, or the Scottish Rite in the 18th degree. And then it follows, stupid. Sorry, I have a Macintosh and that mouse is driving me crazy. And the only thing that I'm a bit uncertain about is actually the visiting rights between 33 degrees Scottish Rite and the Swedish Rite, the Knight and Commander or the Red Cross. I think the Swedish Knight and Commander is allowed to visit the 33rd degree, but not the other way around.
Is this meant to represent the Scottish Rite in England? Which is I'm trying to remember the right term.
I think actually it's the American Rite.
Okay, because I will say there is the 13th degree is the Royal Arch degree in the Scottish Rite. The 18th degree is the Knight of Rose Croix. Not the same thing as Royal Arch. The Royal Arch degree is, of course, the end of the highest degree within the Royal Arch chapter in the American York Rite system. But there are several degrees. You can find several degrees between the 4th and the 18th in the Scottish Rite that you can compare directly to the Royal Arch. There's a Lodge of Masters. There's the Masons of the Royal Arch, which talks about Enoch and the 9 vaults and all that. So the rituals are very similar. And if you've been in both, you're like, okay, that's very similar to this, but it's not a one-to-one. As far as visitation goes, unless you're a member of the Scottish Rite, you don't get to attend a Scottish Rite meeting. I mean, there is no equivalent now again, we don't have Swedish brothers who are constantly visiting here in America, so it doesn't come up. Maybe in England, maybe somebody there has more familiarity because you are much closer geographically, how that's addressed, if it's addressed. But just from my understanding, if you don't belong to the Royal Arch, you couldn't attend a Royal Arch meeting, even though you have a very similar degree. Same with the Scottish Rite. We can draw comparisons all day and say, this was influenced by this, but there's not a reciprocity of, oh, well, you're Swedish Rite. By all means, come sit in the Scottish Rite meeting. That's what I'm saying. But that someone else can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding.
I think you are pretty correct there, because what I've known, there is some difference between the Scottish Rite, if it's in England or if it's in the United States.
Yes.
But the details are taken care of by our Grand Secretariat, because if we are going to visit another lodge in another country, we ask our secretary, okay, I want to go to that lodge. Can you arrange that? And he, in his turn, talks to the Grand Secretary. Okay, I have a brother who wants to visit a lodge, for example, in New York or in Edinburgh. Is it possible? Which degrees can he visit? So the secretaries are taking care of the comparison table, what you could say. So they could probably say that, yeah, you can visit in Edinburgh, but you can only visit up to these degrees, and otherwise you're not allowed to go there. That's at least what.
Erik, if I may add a little bit on that, because it seems to be an interesting question. There are understandings between the different Grand Lodges how to deal with that. In Norway, the Grand Lodge of Norway do have an Office of Foreign Affairs, and they will provide the wishes of visiting in other lodges abroad. But the diagram you have shown here, I myself is a 10th degree brother in the Swedish system. So I am, according to the understanding, especially between the UGLA, yes, the United Grand Lodge of England, and the Grand Lodge of Norway, will be entitled to visit up to the 32 degrees in the Scottish Rite. Actually, they say I could visit the 33 as well with that degree. Having said that, there must be an application to the lodge, because there could be activities in the lodge that does not allow foreigners to take part. But in principle, we can attend these lodges. And there is also an understanding between the Grand Lodge of Norway and the different Grand Lodges of in the US of visiting. But again, there are certain procedures to be announced before we attend meetings in foreign countries. As for the blue lodges, the first, second, and third degrees, that is pretty simple. Haven't had any problems whatsoever. So the system does work, but it's not just to step up to the door and say, "Hey, I'm a member of I belong to the Swedish Rite. I have degree so and so. I would like to attend the meeting."
I also like to point out, you show the Knights Templar there, and that's the British one we're looking at there. But by the way, I wrote a paper that talks about the Swedish Rite, and it's not as well informed as yours, but I have some questions as we go along here about that, because I thought it was quite interesting. But all of this overlap, and this influenced that, and so on. You mentioned the rite of strict observance, which only existed about 50 years, but the strict observance gave birth to the rectified Scottish Rite and the commandery in the US, which just blows me away that there's, I want to spend this paper I wrote on, it was called From Swedish to Scottish, the Masonic Rites of Europe. It was meant as an overview of all of the different rites in Europe. and I spent only like a page or so on each one. I'm going to go back probably at some point and write more about the rite of strict observance, because for being a short-lived body, and I want to say this so everyone understands, we talk about a lot here in America about how the Knights Templars, the original Knights Templars, Jacques de Molay, the guys who went and fought in the Holy Land, the Crusades and all that, that when they died out, when the King of France and the Pope went after them and murdered de Molay, that they went into hiding. And there's a lot of people who actively believe that the Knights Templar went into hiding and founded Masonry in England, and we are a direct descendant of the Knights Templar. There's no direct evidence of that, but there's some circumstantial evidence that influences that as a possibility. The rite of strict observance legitimately believed they were the direct descendants of the Knights Templars, and they were around in 1725. So 400 years earlier, they claimed that the rite of strict observance is a direct descendant of the Knights Templar, no question about it. They led to the formation of the modern day Knights Templar or Commandery here in the US, which typifies and honors de Molay and the Knights Templar, but we don't claim that we're a direct line descendant, whereas the rite of strict observance did, and that's a major distinction. So it's curious, it's just how much of an influence the Knights Templar, the original one, had on Masonry in various ways. And the more I learn about it, the more confused I get, because it's like, well, okay, well, how true is it? Because there are people who swear up and down they had no influence whatsoever. I don't quite buy that, but it's just the rite of strict observance was a key player in things, and we see influences in all of these other bodies. You have an influence in the Swedish Rite, but you don't recognize, like, you don't have any degrees that directly coincide with the Knights Templar, do you? Like the Knights of the Templar, the Knight of Constantine. You don't have like a 1-for-1 comparison.
Well, I think perhaps somewhere in these the so-called Templar degrees, I don't know.
Right.
But well, maybe in 3 years I'm able to answer
maybe you'll know
better. Yeah. But I know for a fact that the Swedish Rite was cleansed, or how you should say,
right,
from influences from the strict observance, because we apparently try to clean out the most obvious Templar influences or Templar IDs, because it was during this time. I mean, it was very romanticized that we descended from the Templars and yada yada. But
right.
Then after a while, people finally, they realized, cool ID, but nah, perhaps we should try to.
You think it's not you no longer believe it's literally you're the descendants?
No.
Okay.
No.
And that's interesting. And this should be obvious, but I like stating the obvious. Rite of strict, the Knights Templar, the original ones, were all Christians. The Rite of strict observance were Christians. The Swedish Rite is Christian. The Knights Templar Commandery in America is Christian, where the Blue Lodge is not. So clearly there's that Christian thread through everything here. And it's kind of funny that you're talking about, you're weeding out any references to the rite, any influence of the rite of strict observance. Again, that body died out in 1776 when its founder died.
Yeah.
But 2 centuries later, you're still getting. It's one thing to say you want to get rid of the. Are you just talking about not influence directly? Like the Grand Orient is still very much around. So if someone says your Grand Lodge is influenced by the Grand Orient of France, they're still very much there and very much a political entity. Whereas the rite of strict observance is a long dead body. So that they're influencing you in a completely different definition of influence, I guess is what I'm saying.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, during these early years, I think that the early Masons in Sweden, they were just collecting everything that was interesting and try to bake it into the Swedish Masonry, but after some years they realized, okay, well, this is a bit too much actually. But I think that the Christian denomination comes from Jacobites that had a big influence on Swedish Masonry during the early years, and that's also like the thing that, well, you could say, saved us from being clandestine. That okay, we are still very, very Christian in one way. So we're not. So the people that try to put the stamp of Grand Orient on us, well, we said no. We're nothing like that. We have influences, yes, but we cleaned out the bad stuff. And so, but still, perhaps in the next degree, I might have another opinion. I don't know. We'll see.
But then you won't be able to tell us.
Exactly. It's a secret. Yeah. So, but this chart it displays, as a brother from Norway explains it. Yeah. This is approximation. I mean, it's not entirely true. And depending on also, I think you have the southern jurisdiction and northern jurisdiction of York Rite as well, with some differences. So, I mean, yeah, we could just look at it, and this is an approximation of the degrees. So let's stick with that. Differences and similarities. Well, for example, you see these symbols are familiar, but in the Swedish Rite, we have a different angle. Don't ask me why. It's on all books, elder books, and this is the angle we use, period. Probably some deeper meaning there, which will be revealed in higher degrees, I suppose. And we also use the St. George cross. So to show that you are a Swedish Mason, you don't sport a pin with the compass and the ruler. You use the St. George cross on a small pin on your lapel or something like that. And perhaps also an acacia, but mostly the cross. And I think that's also a small, how you say, yeah, that's the Templar influence, I suppose, that's stuck somehow. So yeah. So the different degrees. This is perhaps the most interesting to see concerning if you're a researcher in Masonry, and to see the different aprons and the regalias. The first, second, and third, yeah, I think they look about the same as in both England and the States. I could be wrong. I know for certain they are quite similar in England, I hope. And then you have 4/5 degree, which is somewhat equivalent to Mark's Master Mason. Anyone stop me if I'm totally incorrect. So, yeah. Yes, of course.
I'm sorry. The 4th and the 5th degree of the Swedish Rite are not comparable to any other degree. I know from Germany, the Swedish Rite, the York Rite, the Scottish Rite, there is no comparable. Only the 6th degree is like the Scottish Master, and the story is the same like the Royal Arch, that's right. But it's not like the Mark Master. But for my American friends, if you look to the black apron of the 4th degree of the Swedish Rite, this is comparable to the newly allowed Templars apron I don't know the English term. Sorry, I'm German. It's the Templar's apron is with 3 sides, like some in the council, but it's the same optic, and you find in the 4th and 5th degree rests of the revenge degrees in the Scottish Rite, but it's not comparable to the mark. That's not.
Oh, that's good to hear. I was under the impression that it was quite similar to concerning visiting rites, but there you see. Yes, thank you. Yeah, the 4th, 5th degree is quite unique as well, because that's actually 2 degrees in one. The reason I'm not too certain about, maybe so that you have like 9 degrees in total, counting the 4th, 5th like 1 degree. So, and 9 is a very good number in Masonry. And here we have my degree on the left, the 6th degree. Well, quite nice, I would say. Some of you might recognize the symbolism.
I have a question, Eric. First of all, and I realize this is a stock photo they put up, but do you wear white tie to your meetings? Is that the standard dress? Okay.
Oh, yes.
And then do you purchase these aprons when you're in each degree?
No.
Or is this what you wear? Like, is this an officer's apron, or is it just what you wear during the meeting?
This is, we borrow the regalia from the lodge. So we never own our regalia ourselves. So, I mean, my regalia, which I'm wearing now, has probably been worn by maybe 10, 15 brethren before me. And,
so when everyone who attends the meeting would wear the sash, the cordon, and the apron. In the 6th degree. Okay. Yeah,
exactly. And when we're having the agape, the dinner after, you remove the sash and you remove the necklace and the apron.
Okay.
So still carrying the sash.
By comparison, in a Blue Lodge here, once you're a master of a lodge, you would have a past master's apron that the lodge gives you. You could wear anywhere you want to go. If you just show up at a Blue Lodge, we have a stock of cloth aprons. You just grab a plain white apron, tie it on. Some places have paper, which is like, at least invest in the cloth, guys. But I've seen like paper aprons, or like at Grand Lodge, they make them available and they're disposable. But you just put on an apron for the meeting and take it off. If you're an officer, there's a more ornate apron and jewel that you would wear just during the meeting, but that belongs to the office. Okay. So you would just wear it while you're junior. And interestingly, if you wear the apron you were installed with, like say I show up at lodge and I'm a past master and I'm filling in as senior deacon that night for a degree, I would put on the senior deacon's necklace, the jewel, but I wear my own apron. I would not wear the senior deacon's apron unless I was installed senior deacon.
Right.
But you don't buy any aprons. Okay.
No.
All right.
No. And also the jewelers for the officers are, I think, I don't know actually if they are having them all the time or if they're staying at the lodge. So every time you come there, you just pick up the jewelry. I'm not familiar with how that works really. So, but yeah, the lodge owns everything. They all own all the regalia, and there's also been some problems with the regalia because if a brother is deceased, the family often finds the regalia and put them out on auction sites. and they are not aware that this is actually the property of the Swedish Freemasonry order.
So you're issued. So when you join the lodge, you're issued an apron to wear, and you take it home and you bring it back to attend the meetings. Interesting.
Yeah.
But it's only yours. Okay. While you're a member of that.
Yeah. Well, it's only yours as long as you're in that degree. So for example, if I should go abroad, I think I'm entitled to wear, for example, my 6th degree regalia in your lodge, even if it's a 3rd degree or a 1st degree lodge. So yes. Let's see. Yeah, the dress code is rather strict, actually. It's either tails, a white tie, or dark, preferably black costume, a black suit. And you can, of course, wear dark blue if you wish, marine, but it's not very common. See, yeah. Sorry. And this is the Red Cross. These are the Knights of the Red Cross. So this is the proof that he's a Knight of the Red Cross. So let's see. Yeah. So I think, what time is it? Oh, there. We're trying to wrap it up. Freemasonry in Sweden from the 1800s up to today. So, I mean, socially, it's always been upper class, nobles, aristocrats, businessmen. And socially, it's been a bit infamous and secret. I mean, it was not common knowledge that Freemasonry existed. And now it's more open after approximately 1980s or so, and anyone can be a member. Politically, there was, in the beginning, Masonry was very political in Sweden, and you had 2 main parties that were always fighting each other during the end of the 1700s, the hats and the caps. And the Masons, well, you had Masons in the caps and you had Masons in the hats, and that probably made that made some problems, so definitely. And also you have had political involvement by Masons, and actually quite bad history, I must say. But now we are, it's, well, you could say illegal or not a very good thing to involve a lodge in politics, and you should never talk about politics or religion or anything like that in a lodge or even outside the lodge at the agape, the dinner afterwards. It's considered bad manners. We have, of course, had conspiracies, and during the 1700s and 1800s, the Swedish Masonry opened up child houses to take care of, well, that time's child welfare. And since the children was quite in bad shape, they tend to, unfortunately, die a lot. And that was, well, spreading conspiracies that the Masons actually salted down the children in barrels and sent them to Turkey for paying an old debt to a mythic entity called Turken, or the dog, the Turkish dog, or a dog Turk. I don't know how to interpret that. Yeah, during the So yes, so nowadays the conspiracy goes very much to for example, people mistake Swedish Masonry for international Masonry and always talk about, yeah, you're not the 33rd degree, you know nothing about what's happening, blah, blah, blah. And we tell those conspiracy theorists, yeah, well, we have 10 degrees. And then they always loses focus. So in media, then at the beginning, up to 1800s, it was quite a positive attitude, and with some exceptions, of course. Now in modern days, we have what we could say a neutral to a negative attitude. And it's also, I mean, for example, this clip here from one of the evening papers in Sweden, to the extent that an organization contributes to a reduction in the diversity of opinions and decisions alternatives, it is a danger to democracy. It could lead to international recruiting to elite appointments. So that was a small article in Expressen, who were quite concerned about the influences that Masonry had on people in general. Questions so far? You're all so quiet, so I wonder if...
Yeah, I have a question. I just didn't want to interrupt earlier, although my question is kind of in a different direction. So the thing I'd most like to know is, I understand the Swedish Masonry grew up in a Christian tradition, and there is amity between like UGLE and the Swedish tradition.
Yeah.
And yet in some other parts of the world, you know, Freemasonry is ecumenical, or accepts people of all faiths because of the grand architect of the universe and this kind of thing. So this is all just set up. My question is about like attitude and opinion of the brethren who are in your meetings. So we know that a UGLE Mason could come and sit in lodge with you. Yeah. What would the reaction of the brethren be if such a UGLE Mason were a Buddhist or a Muslim?
I think I'm not 100% certain there. I know that, for example, for the higher degrees, you have to say that you're a Christian. You're not allowed to visit the higher degrees above, I think it's a 6th or 7th degree and upwards. You're not allowed if you're not Christian, period. But if you come and visit first, second, third degree and you're a Buddhist, that's completely fine. It's quite interesting actually to have a visitor of that denomination as still a Mason. So yes, it shouldn't pose any problems, what I know of. But as I said, the higher degrees, you have to be Christian.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have any more slides, brother? I don't want to derail you if you've got more to do. Sorry. I did have a question, though, if I could ask before I forget. In my research and writing about the Swedish Rite, that when you join a St. Andrew's Lodge, you're no longer a member of a St. John's Lodge, and you only pay dues to the body you belong to. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
But I also read that to be a first-line signer of a petition for someone to join the Swedish Rite, you must have received the 7th degree, and the second-line signer at least the 3rd.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so here's a question. So if I'm a member, if I'm in the 7th degree and I'm a member of a St. Andrew's Lodge, I'm no longer a member of a St. John's Lodge, but I can still sign a petition for someone joining a St. John's Lodge.
Yeah.
So you can still attend a St. John's Lodge as often as you like?
Oh, yes.
Okay, but you no longer have to pay dues then?
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's also a big difference, because even if I'm a 6th degree Mason, I often go to 1st degree, 2nd degree, 3rd degree. So it's no different. It's still in the same Masonic society.
I see. So the only difference is you don't pay dues anymore, but you're still active but you're still a member of that St. John's Lodge.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I mean, you're like a spiritual member, or what you could call it, but you pay your dues to the St. Andrew's Lodge, which you're the full member of. Yeah. So a short about full members versus serving brethren. Yeah, we have serving brethren in the Swedish Masonry, which was in fact like servants or people working for the full members. They got a kind of a Masonic journey, and just because they had to be serving their masters, more or less. That disappeared, thankfully, at 79. So Dudley, Byton, Dudley. Yeah. I think KLG says that in Norway they never leave the St. John's Mother Lodge. That will remain their primary lodge. I think that's one of the differences between Swedish and Norwegian Masonry, even if it's.
I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that in Sweden, Finland, and Iceland, you no longer pay dues, but there are other. The Swedish Rite is in a number of other countries, and as I understand, in Sweden there is only the Swedish Rite. There are no lodges from other bodies, but like say Germany, Norway, elsewhere, there are Swedish lodges, Swedish Rite lodges in say Germany, but there still is the Grand Lodge of Germany, which is York Rite. I think it's York Rite. So there are other countries where you are one of many different options, shall we say.
Yeah.
But in Sweden,
That's
it's strictly Swedish. Okay.
Well, yes and no. There are some craft lodges working under the United Grand Lodge of New York, actually, but they're actually a Finnish lodge working on Swedish soil. So we count them as a Finnish lodge working international rights.
Okay, understood. Interesting.
Yeah. Let's see. The general laws of the Order of Public Sins. 2018. So anyone can read our general laws of the order online nowadays. So let's see. Freemasonry in Sweden today. Well, we're quite thriving. We often own our own facilities, and it's quite often, for example, a restaurant or a hotel in the same building, so you get some money flow. For example, here in Kalmar, we have our lodges in the same house as a hotel and a restaurant, and the Masonic facility is the owner of that house. The membership has been somewhat stable, some decline later years, and that's mainly because we have a lot of aging members. We do quite a lot of charity, and we are facing problems with, for example, language, religion, influence of conspiracy theories, and that it actually takes quite a long time for a lodge. The lodge starts at 6:30, and you're home about 10:15, 11:30, or something like that. And there's also the question of recruitment or not. Are we going to quantity or quality? Are we exclusive or excluding? And also this question that we have had so much with go public or not. We are very much not public. We don't do any marches. We don't do any charity events in the public or anything like that. So we are quite secret in that sense. We do have an open house twice a year, for example, where we actually invite people off from the street to come up and have a coffee with us or something like that. So, let's see. Yes. Any questions so far? I think we're soon running out of time here. So, but
we kind, as far as time goes, it's 11:44 here. We go until people get tired and everybody drops off. Honestly,
perfect.
I don't have a set time on any of our speakers,
Good.
but generally most of them go about an hour. You've gone about an hour and a half, and that's quite all right. It's just if people are interested, they stick on. We still have 19 participants. We only had a few people drop because they said they had to go. But I think this has been very interesting. Did you have any more slides? I didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah.
Do you have more? Okay. Well, how many more? Let me ask you that then, since we are.
Not too many, actually. I think 4 or 5.
Why don't you go ahead and just quickly go through your slides, and then we'll go to questions. I don't want to cut you off.
Yeah, exactly.
Too early.
So some differences. You're asked. You're not asking. We have large lodges.
You're invited. You have to be invited to join.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's one of the main differences. Of course, if you ask someone, I heard you're amazing. Could you please tell me more? Well, that's no problem. We have large lodges. My lodge has 450 members in total, counting both the St. John and the St. Andrew's Lodge. And there's an historic explanation for that, which I leave it behind. We have a great mix of high and low. I mean, you have CEOs of very large companies, and you have car mechanics sitting next to each other, which is also this historic explanation. And there we are, not very public, no marchers, social events, no attendant bodies. Usually belongs to the same Masonic society. I mean, the society is like the combination of St. John and the St. Andrew's Lodge. So, for example, here in Kalmar, we are part of the Kalmar Frimurarsamfund, the Kalmar Masonic Society. Yes, and there was the views. When you reach the 8th degree, you are to carry a ring and you make your own shield. Unfortunately, quite bad image of the ring there. So, okay, and there's the shields. Some of the shields.
How large are those shields?
Or could it be like I don't know, 60 centimeters high or something like that?
And you just you're expected to make your own shield.
Yeah,
and you display it in your house. You bring it to lodge. What do you?
You can. Well, I'm going to do some photos. A quick photo slide, so you'll see where they reside. You get a personal shield and a shield that hangs on inside the lodge. Actually. So this is a secret ritual image. Not that secret, actually. You find it on the web anywhere. Unfortunately, this is the working carpet of the 1st degree. I believe there are some differences between the carpet between Danish, Norwegian degrees as well. So I think that the main structure is similar.
And I see a beer by the candle there, a glass of beer in a bottle. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, we had a educational night there, so.
Oh, okay. I want to attend.
Yeah.
You had me at beer bottle in the lodge.
Yeah. The tracing board is exactly the same in Iceland. Huh? Thank you, Steiner. So the lodge. I think I've spoken to a lot of people that are part of this, what do you call it? The TO.
Traditional observance.
Yeah, exactly. And when I'm talking to them about the Swedish Lodge and how it works, they say, "Oh, we really want to achieve that." So, the lodge is very dark. It's solemn, and we have an ambience which I don't see. I see them that in perhaps English lodges somewhat, but I don't see it in American lodges that much. American lodges seems to be, well, quite the white walls and stuff like that. We don't have anything like that. The lodge, no matter with what degree the lodge is working at, we always open the first degree and advance to which degree it's holding. And you can attend to any degree as long as your degree allows it. So I can go to, at my 6th degree, I can go to any degree at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I can't go to a 7th degree and above. So no reading of minutes. I think that the reading of minutes is actually a subject that a lot of Masonic brethren are always complaining about. Maybe.
Now, if I could ask, I'm sorry, in the St. Andrew's Lodge, you only confer the 4th, 5th, and 6th degrees. So if you were conferring the 6th degree in a St. Andrew's Lodge, you would open on the 1st degree?
Maybe. Let's see.
1 minute, 1 minute.
No, sorry, we open in 4th, 5th degree actually.
Okay. Sorry.
Let's see. Yeah, the words differ between the craft degrees in the Swedish Masonry compared to international. So I can actually talk to a 1st degree in England or US and reveal secrets that he's not supposed to know until perhaps 2nd or 3rd degree, and vice versa, which is why you should actually keep from talking about rituals, even if you know that the person might be a 1st degree or 2nd degree. If he's a 3rd degree, usually fine. But I think actually there are some things that spills over in the 4th, 5th degree as well. So, you know, the 3rd degree is what I understand very different in Sweden compared to abroad. No more details about that. We pay about $260 per year. That's our dues, and a dinner lodge is around $16, give or take. Every new degree is approximately $150 to $200. I think they also is a bit more expensive the higher you get. And we always, after closing the lodge, there's always listening to a music piece just to calm down and relax and reflect on what you've just been part of. And the dinner after the agape is more or less as important as the lodge, because that's where you actually meet your brethren and can talk in private or semi-private. Also, we have the conformity of the Swedish Rite. You can go anywhere in Sweden and you can follow the rite. You know that the rite is exactly the same as in your home lodge. And you can also, if there is a need for it, you can actually go and sit on an officer's chair if you have that title. So it's quite common, apparently, that a junior deacon or anyone, if the lodge is visiting Mrs. or someone is ill and couldn't show up, and they can point you out, okay, you have that title, can you please sit at the chair tonight? Even if you're not part of that lodge. But you know that the ritual is exactly the same, so you just follow it word by word. Sorry, that was the wrong one again. Yeah, and that was actually it.
Did you say you had a picture with shields?
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to find, just try to There we are.
And
Yeah.
Andreas, did you have a question? You had your hand up earlier.
I have had, but not yet. It's okay.
Okay.
It was my phone was ringing.
Oh, that's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah. Just a quick slide here. Here's one of my sponsors to the left, and here's the Grand Master of Sweden to the right. So he was
Go ahead and
presenting.
share it again. If you have, you said yeah, it's in the
sorry.
share. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. Yeah, there we are. Yeah. So one of my sponsors on the left, called Peter, he was the worshipful master of the lodge when I was initiated. So he had 2 roles, and also the Grand Master of Sweden, Christer Persson. Someone said something. Here,
the shields.
Here's one wall with shields at our lodge in the dining hall. So everyone who enters the 8th degree are encouraged to make a shield, and these shields are made centrally by the chapter or something like that. So you have one at the wall here, and also one at home if you like.
Right. Very cool.
May I ask?
Please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That was my question, but I think I understand. You said everyone who comes to the 8th degree has to build his own shield. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
So it's similar to the Templar degrees in Great Britain in some orders. That's always the point. You have to build your shield. Okay, thank you very much. That's interesting. The German Swedish Rite does not have this tradition. But okay, the German Swedish Rite is in some points a little bit different because it was built before the great changes of the Duke of Södermanland.
Yeah, that's correct. I think, is it a Schroeder Rite you are using, or what's that? Yeah, I know. The lodge room from another view. Well, it's an ordinary lodge room. So. And here we have dinner after one of the lodge meetings, I think. Yeah. Well, so the agape.
You have more shields up on that. I don't know on that low wall. I can't think of what it's called. The wall that's going across. I know there's a technical architect term for that. I can't think of what it is.
Well, you see, these have this helmets above, and I think there are. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there are knights and commanders of the Red Cross, or they are past worshipful masters. I don't actually remember it, or perhaps even deceased. I'm not too sure about that actually. Yes. Well, mingle both. So I don't know why I actually took this image. We allow to drink alcohol on our agape. Yeah, there's our sitting worshipful master of the St. John Lodge, and again my sponsor. These are some international visitors. So this person here, he's from a German lodge, and these are from a Danish lodge, the oldest Danish lodge in Denmark, Mandel. And you see, let's see, too much details. There's me in the 6th degree. Of course, and here is a quite this was a moment not too, which doesn't happen too many times. so many 4/5 degrees collected at the same time, actually, at the lodge. This was quite a unique moment. Because, I mean, we can go to lodge Mondays and Thursdays, and some people go to lodge perhaps every second Thursday, every third. So, I mean, to have them collected or gather at the same time was quite unique. These are just to see the surroundings from our lodge building. More, yeah. Yes, this might be interesting. This person on the left here, he's a priest actually, and he's wearing a cassock, which is allowed in Swedish lodges. So he's one of the few, I think the only one that are allowed to dress in a different way. Let's see, nothing interesting. Yeah, but you get the general idea of what's happening at Swedish lodges. And there you see the difference between Swedish and international symbolism as well. There's a better image of it. So he's a priest in a Swedish church, and he was a deputy master for a couple of years as well. Sorry, more alcohol. Yeah, and we're going to start to end with some images from different lodges, St. John lodges. This one is, I think, quite high north in Sweden, and this one is, I think,
Wow.
the nearest lodge we have, Oskarshamn, which is not too far away from here. And here we have our lodge. And if you have good vision, you will see one major difference between these two. I'm going to. No one noticed a big difference. I'm sorry. Actually, the floor in our lodge is actually wrong according to the Swedish Masonic laws. It should be in this direction.
Oh, you're 45 degrees off. I see.
Yeah. So that's like, this is wrong, actually. So that was
very good. Thank you. I want to say on a personal note, my ancestors, my grandparents came here. My dad's family came from Germany and my mom's family came from Sweden. So I'm Swedish German. So if I lived in Europe, I would be a member of the Swedish Rite in Germany. I think that would be the appropriate thing for me to do. So I'm very, I took German in high school and forgotten all of it. I know very little Swedish. But I'm very interested in the Swedish Rite since it is quite different from what we have. Any questions from the group? Please speak up.
Everything's totally clear.
It was. I really enjoyed that, Erik. That was really informative. I knew a little before you covered, and you covered everything that I'd pretty much researched on my own. You covered, and then more in depth. But it was good to be able to ask a couple questions just to clarify, like about the dues and such. But it was really good. Anybody have any questions out there? I want to make sure everyone has a chance to ask before they leave. No one?
With your permission, Chris, can I stick a link to my little group in as well?
Oh, by all means, yes.
Yeah.
Very much. Erik is a member, as are about 3 or 4 other people here. But if you're interested in joining a slightly different group to this, please follow the link. You might be a little bit of a delay where you get in because we do a little bit of background check and we guarantee Masons only in our chat group.
And they speak a lot of Scottish, so
yeah, they speak a lot of Scottish. Well, actually, our Swedish is coming along nicely now. I think we've got 3 people from Sweden in the group.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah.
We could
Unfortunately, we have a lot of American as well.
talking.
They can't have everything.
Yes.
And I hope I answered I got a couple direct messages. I hope I answered everybody in the chat because I don't pay as much attention to the chat when I'm running the meeting. So I try and look at it in case I missed anything. So if I didn't address your question, I'm sorry. And I hope everybody got a chance to ask what they wanted to ask. I do want to thank Brother Erik for being our speaker today. It was very, very interesting. We've gone just over 2 hours, so we did real well. I do want to announce our next meeting. My notes are here in the window here. Okay, so let's see. May the 7th will be our next unstated meeting. Brother M. David Allen, who was he here? Was he the one in earlier today? I think we had there might have been David who was here earlier. I wasn't sure, but he's dropped off. Anyway, David Allen, I think that he might have been in the meeting today, but I didn't make it clear who that was because he lives in Richmond apparently. But he will be our guest speaker on May the 7th, and his paper is Secrecy, Experience, and Virtue. And it's about the Scottish Rite 4th degree, but he says it's 95% relevant to the Blue Lodge. So that should be interesting. So look for the announcement. I usually try to get the announcement done before this one, but I at least want to call it out here. But I will have a Facebook event explaining that. So that'll be May the 7th. That's in 2 weeks. May the 21st is our next stated meeting. And I see our senior warden's already dropped off. So we will be meeting in person on May the 21st in Highland Springs. And our speaker will be Wes Latchford, who is, let's see, who is a member of several lodges in Scottish Rite and things I belong to. Yes, he will be speaking on the Tyler's Sword. So that should be interesting. That'll be in person in Highland Springs. If you're in Virginia, you're more than welcome to join us. Wes Latchford will be speaking on the Tyler's Sword. And then
Will that be painful?
Yes, he will be. Well, apparently he's bringing several swords to show off, which is going to be interesting. That'll be May the 21st. So I'm going to move our next unstated meeting to the 28th of May. And that will be about the hidden Kabbalah in the offices of the Blue Lodge, which is brother, because it's not opening right now. I have a brother who is speaking on that. That's going to be the 28th. I have to move him. And I don't have his name in there. I'm sorry. But that will be the 28th. Oh, Ray Bradford. Ray Bradford will be our speaker on the 28th of May. So those will all be shown as invites on the events on Facebook, so you can follow up with them. But again, May the 7th, unstated meeting here. May the 21st, meeting in person in Richmond, and May the 28th will be unstated here. And then I'll do every 2 weeks after that. I don't want to wait another, an extra week for the unstated. So we just take one off because of the lodge meeting in person, which is something I'm not used to having to work around. I'm glad we're back to meeting in person again. So I appreciate everybody. Oh, Robert is still here. Good. Yes.
Yeah, I am still here.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Wes Latchford will be speaking on the Tyler's Sword at our next meeting.
Yeah.
And barring any unforeseen deaths and memorial services and sickness, both me and your worship master will be there at our next stated, so you won't have to run things yourself. It was most unfortunate that we both couldn't be there, but I'm sure you did fine.
Yes, it was. It was a good meeting.
I'm sorry, I really am sorry I couldn't be there and missed Brother Joe Martinez's talk. But Joe will come back and be a speaker here at one of the unstateds. So coming up probably in June. So I still have at least a month or two mapped out. I've got more speakers I'm going to line up, so I want to nail them down and publish all that. So they'll be available on our Facebook events. You can see them. Robert, do you have anything to say on behalf of the lodge before we close?
No, it was very interesting. It's trying to see how it works with, I guess, our Masonry in America and what's going on in Sweden. It's very interesting.
Yes. Always good to have different perspectives.
Yes.
I really enjoy that, Eric. I do thank you for coming in, and thank you, Brian, for introducing me to Eric, so he can speak. We're always happy to have more speakers. If any of you want to speak, or if you know someone who you think would have a good talk, please just contact me. I'm always looking for more speakers. We try to have these every 2 weeks, so it puts the burden on me to go and find people and line them up and keep them interesting. So worst case, if I can't find someone, I'll read a paper to you, but I'm really trying not to do that. But I'm kind of there in the background. I have several of our older research papers I want to get out there at some point and share with everyone because they're really interesting. So if anyone else has anything to say, we'll go and wrap this up. It's 12:10. So this has been one of our longer sessions, but it's really good. I appreciate everybody for sticking around. We still have 10, 11 people. So we had a high mark of 23, I think. So that was pretty good. So good to have you all here.
I bored them out for a while, probably.
No,
you did great. You did great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
you
you
very
all
much.
so much. You all have a wonderful day. Enjoy your early afternoon, evening, or for those of you here in Virginia and so forth, enjoy your lunch.
Yeah.
So y'all have a good day. I'll talk to you all soon. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, and I hope to see you all again.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.